We have applied the risk to activities. Just wanted to point out some settings that you might want to look at before you start building your risk register. If you go to Tools and then you go to Options, there's a few options I want to point out. You can exclude risk below a certain value from your quantitative risk analysis. So let's say any risk that scores below 9 in this case, I don't want to see in my quantitative risk analysis. Basically it means these risks are too small and we're not going to be bothered with them at this moment. Perhaps later on, but not at this moment. The other one I want to point out is this option right here. Right now, when I select a risk and apply to multiple tasks, the total impact is actually divided or spread over the various activities, as you can see here. So I got this risk A applied to three activities. If I would bring it back to 1, you see that the total amount is maximum 50,000, and if I apply to 3, it's going to spread that cost out evenly over those 3 activities. If you don't want that, then you need to unselect this checkbox. Here you set the default shape for your distribution. So in my case it's triangular, both for schedule and cost. This last option here, it says for highest levels impact, make the upper bound equal to the highest level impact multiplied by 2. This refers to my risk scoring matrix. So to determine the min and max, if a schedule or cost impact is considered very high, the max will be twice this value and twice this value. You can change that, obviously. Go back to your options and you can change this to 1.5 times or 3 times. So we have applied the risk and we are ready to build our impacted schedule. So our impacted schedule is basically our regular schedule with all the uncertainties that we developed in the beginning and including these risks that we now have assigned to these various activities. To do that, you go to Tools, Build Impacted Plans. And it says, do you want to build both a pre and a post mitigated situation? And then you can select and unselect certain risk. In my case, I'm just going to leave all these risks the same, but I am going to just look at my pre-mitigated situation. And you hit Build. And a new screen opens up, and as you can see, these risks has actually been inserted into the schedule as a separate task with the probability of occurrence in yellow here. And if you go to Window, you see that actually a separate file has been created. So this is our original file that we worked on, and after we build our impacted schedule, we get this. Now, to do effective risk management, you really want to understand which risk or which activities are driving my cost or driving my finish date or driving my duration. So let's run the risk analysis for this pre-mitigated situation. I'm just going to hit Complete. And as you can see, our deterministic probability is very low. It's only 1%. Oh, that's because we've applied all these risks, but we haven't really done any mitigation. So we can look at cost, the effect of cost on the schedule, the effect of duration, and finish date. Now what you could do is go here to your distribution analyzer, and it will say, well, right now there's nothing displayed. Do you want to display information? You say yes. And it suggests that we're going to insert the S-curve for both the original plan and the pre-mitigated plan. So let's do that, and I want to see cost and duration. Import data, and here you see the two S-curves and the difference between them. Now the information from here is, well, our deterministic value is 486, 125. Originally the green curve had a probability of 17%, but with the risk it's now dropped down to 1%. So if we want to be, let's say, 80% certain, I can click on this and this highlighter will show up, and it says the difference between my original plan and my pre-mitigated plan is 352,744. Just going to close this out. Close this out because I'm curious to what is driving my schedule. So if I select this finish milestone, right click, I can go to show drivers and I can choose logical predecessors. Here I can see that my finish milestone is driven by these activities, and as you can see, site preparation, excavation drive my finish date. The percentage here refers to the correlation coefficient. So there's a high correlation if this activity goes longer, that my finish milestone will go longer. 86% correlation. The next one is excavation, install water lines and concrete foundation. So as a manager, you will be first looking at which of these activities are actually pushing my milestone date out, and can we do something about it. We can now do the same for the risks. So which risk is driving my, in this case, duration. So risk number D has the biggest impact, 64% correlation, and the next one is risk number A. So again, from a risk management point of view, these will be the risks that you will have to focus on first, because they have a high impact when it comes to duration. And the same you can do for cost. So for cost is D and C are driving my total cost with a correlation of 54%. So let's look at the effect of our risk mitigation. So I'm going to close this out and go back to my risk register. And I'm going to build my impacted risk plan again, and this time I'm going to build my post-mitigated risk plan. So this is what our post-mitigated risk plan is going to look like. Let's run the simulation for this one. Run risk analysis, analyze. I'm just going to hit complete. And this is the result. And if I'm not mistaken, it's slightly better, not a whole lot better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to distribution analyzer, and I want to add that post mitigated curve. So I'm going to go to file, import data. I'm going to unselect these guys because we already have them. I just want to have the post mitigated for cost and duration. Import the data, and there it is. So what does this graph show us? Well, it shows us the three scenarios. Our original plan, our pre-mitigated plan, and our post-mitigated plan. Based on 80% confidence level, I saved $148,521 by applying risk management. But it also tells me that I have to take an additional amount of $204,000 in my budget. The estimated cost based on 80% confidence level is $739,592. Our probabilistic value improved slightly. Was 1% in the pre-mitigated situation, and it moved up to 3% in our post-mitigated situation. In real life, this would be unacceptable numbers, and that's why the difference between what our deterministic value is versus what our actual values are, that difference is substantial. And the same goes for duration. So my original plan at 80% confidence level, let's look at 80% confidence level again, is 143. When risks are applied and not mitigated, it goes to 205. But because we took some risk mitigated steps, we brought it back to 169 days. Our original cost, that is a schedule based on the most likely duration. This is what this yellow arrow means. And it's set at 131 days. 131 days, yes. That's our deterministic value on the entire plan. Now we did identify uncertainties, duration uncertainties, and just based on that, and wanted to be 80% confident. We already know that the 131 is not going to be feasible. It doesn't have a high probability. So if we want to be 80% confident, we need to increase our schedule to this 80% value of 133. And then based on our result of our risk analysis and the risks that are applied to the schedule, we actually will have to bump it up to 169 days.